Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I have a new layout to share for the Paige Evans design team, and I'm going to be using her Bungalow Lane collection again. And for this layout, I'm actually starting with my photo. I usually don't pick my photo first thing, but I have this picture of me and my husband from earlier this year, and I liked it because there's a lot of light blue and navy blue and neutral skin tones in the photos. And as I was going through the papers, I noticed that there was some dark blues and light blues, and I thought I might add in some yellows, maybe some oranges. I wasn't sure, but I wanted to start with blues and just kind of see where it took me. So I pulled out several of the papers and just sort of started to play around with the photos, see what I liked, what matched, and kind of trying to get an idea of what I wanted to do with the papers. I really wanted to use this striped paper. I think it's really striking, and it matches this photo really well. That's paper number 13. And like my last layout, I was in the mood to rip and tear paper. I don't know, sometimes I just like to go for it and just rip into it. So what I was thinking, since my photo is vertical, in my last layout I did a horizontal design, I thought I would try a vertical design for this layout. And so I wanted to layer several of these papers together because I liked how they look together and I feel like they match my photo. And I wanted the striped paper to be visible but not the most dominant paper of these layers that I'm going to create. So I pulled out a sheet of white thick cardstock to use as a background because I am going to add some mixed media to this. And at first, like I said, I was going to try to do just blue, but then I thought maybe I should mix in some other colors and see how it looks. It may, provide a nice contrast against the blue. So I thought I would go with yellow. That light blue paper is number 18, and then this yellow pattern paper is paper number 8. So I think I'm going to do the stripes, the very back layer, and then the yellow, and then the light blue on top of it, and just try to make some torn, messy, uneven layers. And I really love those stripes kind of peeking around the back there. And just go from there. And sometimes I use minimal pattern papers, and this particular day I just felt like using a lot of paper, so that's what we're going to do. That's my little edge distresser tool there. It's got this little blade. It's very tiny in the middle, and when you run it through or run your papers through it, it just ruffles up the edges and tears them up a little bit more, which I love. I love distressed edges. So yeah, I'm going to just kind of keep working on this and get my layers just right, glue them together, and then I can kind of move it around as one big thing because I know it's going to go right down the middle, and then I can start to work on everything else because at this point I haven't gone through any of the embellishments or I don't know what I'm going to do for a title or anything like that. I just wanted to start with the papers, and I'm going to continue to kind of work with the striped paper there to make it a little more uneven than it is, and then tear it up a little bit. So yeah, I think this is kind of where I'm going to start. And then I started playing around with some of those really big flower embellishments from the floral die cut pack, and I really liked that big orange flower. I thought it would be nice and bright and kind of like an accent color to add to this, to just kind of bring everything out in the photo. And so I know that the striped paper and the layers and everything are going to go right in the middle, so that's going to leave me some white space on both sides to do a little bit of mixed media. So I'm going to coat that part of the paper with some clear gesso because I like to use multiple colors and I like to have them blend and run together. So I'm going to prep the cardstock for that and then start to just play around with some of these ideas. I'm going to go ahead and glue down the big chunk of layers here. I'm using Scotch tacky glue in my little very well loved dirty fine liner bottle there. Love that glue. It's my favorite glue, especially in that bottle. Works great. And then I wanted to kind of give the blue paper here, the light blue paper, a little bit of a weathered look and kind of fade out a little bit of that pattern that's going to be visible around the edges of the photo. And so I like to use white gesso for that because you can make it as thin or as thick as you want as far as your layers go. So I'm just going to kind of make it look a little cloudy and hazy around the photo there. You still can see the pattern. I'm not trying to completely block it out, but this is also going to allow me to add some paint or some sprays or some inks to this pattern paper and let me kind of blend it and let it run around before it just soaks right through the paper. Because if I was to add anything liquid on top of these pattern papers, it's going to just soak right through. So the gesso kind of preps the paper and allows anything wet, you know, sprays or watercolor, anything like that, it's going to allow you to spread it and blend it and kind of get it just like you want it before it dries. And you'll kind of see what I'm talking about here if you've never used mixed media. These are some shimmers, and I've got a clogged bottle here. I had to go and work on it off camera because it was clogged. But that is a colorings from Shimmers called Peachy Keen, and it's a really pretty orange color, and it really matches that big orange flower pretty nicely. So the mixed media on this layout is very intentional. Sometimes I just go for it in the beginning, but in this case, you saw how I started. I started with the photo, and then I picked the papers, and now I am adding in the mixed media exactly where I want it. So it's very small areas today. I'm going to do it on both sides of the papers here. I'm going to start with this Peachy Keen color, add a little bit of water, use a brush. And the reason I'm able to dilute it a little bit and move it around with the brush is because I added that gesso in the beginning. Helps tremendously to create that effect. I love that orange flower. I think it looks really pretty with these blues. So I'm going to do the same thing on the right here. And another thing about gesso is if I decide, oh, that's too much, I don't like that, I can get a napkin and wipe it up. You know, it gives you some time. If you make a mistake or if you decide, I don't like that, you have time to dab it up before it dries. And I love that about gesso. It's pretty forgiving. But yeah, I'm just trying to create some orange around the edges here because I feel like it really makes a nice contrast against the pattern papers. So I'm going to keep working with that, wipe up what I don't want, just kind of move the paper around a little bit and see how it kind of runs. And if it's going to run onto that striped paper a little bit, but that's okay. I think it's just going to give it more of a weathered effect once it dries. So I'm going to start to layer up my photo here. I'm going to start with some white tissue paper because I like the effect of it. It just creates a subtle layer border around the photo, and it's not something that you notice right away, but like the longer you look at a layout, you know, the more you're going to see the details, and it's one of those small details that you notice the more you look at the page, and it just helps the photos stand out a little bit more against the background. And you know, for me, that's something that is important to me. I always want the photo to stand out, so I want to make sure it's not blending in with a busy background. So what I just did there was cut a sliver of a piece of orange from paper number 24, that cut apart sheet, for a little bit of an orange layer on the right side of the photo, because that big orange flower is going to go on the left side of the photo. So I want a little bit of orange kind of peeking around the edges there of the photo there. And I'm going to layer that big orange flower kind of over the corner of my shoulder there, I guess, in the photo. I don't want to cover up too much. I did add in a little bit of yellow here. You see how dark that was? And watch here. So because of the gesso, I can just dab it up and it lightens it up super quick. And I love how that turned out. It mixed in a little bit with the yellow, not the yellow, the orange. The yellow color is called Mustard Seed. And that's also a Shimmers. Everything that I'm using today, I think most everything is from Shimmers. I'm going to add a little bit of a dark blue layer. That was a card that I just kind of cut in half there from the Ephemera die cut pack. And again, it just helps the photo to stand out a little bit more. This is adhesive foam. I'm just going to use it to create some dimension. This pops the photo up off the page a little bit. And I just use kids craft foam. It's nothing fancy. I get it from Walmart usually. It's in a package of, I think, 40 5x7 adhesive sheets, and they come in a rainbow, a variety of colors, and you can cut them any size you want, and they're great. I'm going to keep working with that Peachy Keen color, add a little bit more orange in. spread it around. And see, mixed media does not have to be a lot, you know. I know sometimes I do a lot of mixed media. I mean, my whole background sometimes is covered in shimmers and gesso. But in a situation like this, you can see that I'm doing very small amounts of mixed media, just exactly where I want it. I'm controlling how much I add, and the brush is helping me control exactly how big the space I want it to cover. And it's really not a lot, but you still get that mixed media effect kind of, you know, around that flower and around the photo. And I like that. And I'm using a different color, you know, so if you have certain colors in your papers and you want to add another color, that's where your mixed media can come in. All I'm doing here is playing around with embellishments. I went through the floral die cut pack again, and there's some really big flowers and leaf stem type things. So I'm going to use that yellow golden one and then that light blue one. And I love how the light blue one kind of curves underneath the bottom of the photo there and just kind of creates this nice frame. I love that. And I also have a half of a blue flower that I used on a previous layout. I'm going to tuck that in there and then start to tuck in some thread. And I'm mainly going to use dark blue here to kind of pull in the dark blue from the striped paper. And it's going to contrast against the orange flower too right there. So I'm going to do the blue thread over on the left side and the right side to kind of even that out. And I like how that thread looks on the watercolor too on the background. And I decided to pull in some of the chipboard stickers. I'm going to use this frame here, but I'm only going to have about half of it showing. So I'm going to cut it in half, save the part that I don't use, and then layer that over here on the right side of the photo. And I like that. Always look at your pieces. Sometimes, you know, I'm guilty of this too. I will look at an embellishment and think I'm never going to use that. It doesn't pertain to me. You know, but sometimes you can use it as a layer, or you can use it just as a little tiny accent piece, even if it's only part of it. Because when I first saw that frame, I thought I'm probably never going to use that. I don't use frames a lot, but in this case, I was able to use it as a layer, and I think it works great. So, you know, just because you have something that you don't think you're ever going to use, look at it in a different way, and you may be able to use it, you know, in whatever way works for you. And I love that about embellishments, is you just never know what's going to work where. I am going to add that little happy day piece there at the bottom, kind of underneath the orange flower. And then I'm going to start to glue things down very carefully because I don't want to move anything at this point. I like where everything is, and if I move it, I'll probably never get it back just so. So I'm going to glue down the little blue flower. I'm going to glue the photo down. And it's pretty layered. I mean, it's pretty popped off the page because, you know, I've got the frame under there now. I've got the adhesive foam. I'm actually going to stick another little piece of foam under there because the frame made it even higher. So it all worked out. Got it down. I'm going to add a little bit of foam underneath part of this orange flower because it's layered over the photo. And then I'm going to use some white gesso in my finger just to kind of smudge over it in places to kind of give it a little bit of a weathered look, so it's not so much of a crisp orange. I like it to look not so perfect, you know. And gesso, again, gesso has so many purposes for me anyway. I love this. I love that you can just smudge a little bit on something and it instantly gives it a little bit of age and a little bit of dimension, and I love that. All right, still gluing little bits down. I love that Happy Day chipboard piece. It matches, you know, my shirt is dark blue, it matches the stripes. And I start to go through the foam phrase stickers here. There's lots of little big and small pieces on here, phrases. I tried to use this piece here that says better together, and I tried it everywhere. I couldn't make it work, just didn't fit anywhere. I like the sentiment though. I thought about using that as my title, but I kind of like it there, but I don't know. When I was making it, I thought, I cannot fit this anywhere. Where is it going to go? Didn't like it above, didn't like it below. So I put it back, went through the cardstock stickers, found a couple of little foiled hearts gold foiled hearts, and they're striped foil. They're really, really cute. I'm going to use those in a couple of spots. And those are just little tiny accents to add in here and there. Love those. And then back to the chipboard. Tried some butterflies, decided against that. Found this little circle with a foiled heart, and I'm going to use that in the middle of the flower. And that was the perfect little piece. Perfect right there. I think that just finishes off the flower. And then I have this sticker that says this. I mainly use it because it matched. Trying to figure out where to put that. And then to top off that blue flower, I'm going to use a little yellow button puffy sticker. And that brings a little pop of yellow there as well. And then I wanted some yellow and orange kind of down, kind of peeking out amidst, oh my gosh, amongst, down below, down there, where that blue leaf sprig is. I don't even know what word I'm trying to use. So I added in some more chipboard, the yellow button and the orange button. And, you know, buttons really have nothing to do with this layout, but it doesn't matter. There's circles, it works, and I like it, so we're going to go for it. But I did want to add some shimmers down here before. And again, this is very controlled, just a little bit. I'm going to mix two blue shimmers together. I'm mixing Deep Blue Sea and Ahoy Matey. One is a really dark navy blue, and the other one is more of a lighter navy blue, kind of like the color of the blue flower that's to the left of my head. It's more of that blue. So I'm just mix those two together, and then use my brush, let it kind of run and drip and run around because it's on top of gesso, so it can do that. And it's just going to create a little bit of contrast because the blue leaves and that little this arrow sticker are so light blue. I needed something dark against that light blue paper behind it because it was almost too much of the same color, and I like to have things varied. So I'm going to stick the this sticker kind of underneath, so it's peeking out from underneath the photo and underneath the orange flower. And then up at the top, I decided to add in a little bit more of the orange, which is the Peachy Keen, and it's very faint. I'm going to fade it out a little bit just so it's a hint of something up there. And I like that. And we're going to do a little bit more over to the side. Yeah, the background's never done, for me anyway. Sometimes I just have to say, okay, stop. Just calm yourself down, back away, it's fine. Oh yeah, look what I just did. Yep. Gesso. Now this doesn't completely come up, but you can see how quick I was able to dab it up. And it's fine. You know, sometimes you make a mess and you open your ink and it just blobs right down on top of the one spot of your layout where you didn't want it to go. And you can barely even see it, but I don't even think it ruined the layout. At least it didn't land on my, oh yeah, we have a wilty leaf. At least it didn't land on my face. Because, you know, if you've ever done splatters, there's a 99.9% chance that you have splattered black ink right on top of your photo, right on someone's face. Guilty, yeah. So the fact that the orange blob was over there on the left, I was able to almost get it up. If I wouldn't have gesso on this paper, I wouldn't have been able to dab it up that well. But in the end, it doesn't even make a big difference. So added some yellow, no, that's not yellow, orange thread underneath the buttons down there. And I'm liking how that's kind of coming together down there. There's lots of layers, lots of interesting things down there. And I did wind up gluing down the light blue leaf sprig because it just kind of, you saw it, how it just flopped over there. Forgot to glue it all the way down. Added in another puffy phrase sticker. It's a foiled gold heart that says XO right there. And I'm really loving how this is coming together. This is the one thing that I use. It's not shimmers. This is the Jen Hadfield Gold Glitter Spray. It's basically the exact same thing as Heidi Swapp Gold Color Shine. Love it. Keep that here on my desk because it is beautiful. And I'm going to use a napkin to kind of dab it up. I like to kind of take a napkin and kind of roll the ends of it so it's a nice fine point to kind of dab into my ink splatters. Now here I decided to add in some more leafy sprigs. This is a sticker and it's gold foil, and I just put some powder behind it to take off the sticky so I can cut it because I want to trim off the white border and then layer it in. There you go. You can see how I did that. Sometimes I like the white border. Sometimes I like to reduce it by just trimming it off because sometimes it's just too much. And I think it, in this case, I wanted it to be thinner. So I'm going to take off some of the flashy goldness of this leaf sprig and just smudge a little bit of white gesso over it. And it's still shiny gold. It just makes it more of a matte shine. So that's a trick if you have something that you want to use that's just way too brassy or way too gold or silver. Just smudge a little bit of white gesso over it and it's still shiny. It just makes it a little less shiny, you know, because it just depends on your preference, but that's what I like to do. I pulled a couple of little phrase stickers from the 8-page sticker book that I'm going to put above the photo, below the photo in a couple spots, and I am going to pop those up off the page. So I just added a little bit of adhesive foam behind those. The one at the top says "Remember This," and it's white with orange letters, so it kind of pulls from the orange. And then I went back and forth on the title. I didn't know what to use, where to put it. So I just settled on this foam phrase sticker that says "One Fine Day." And I like that it's the same color as the blue flower to the left of my head because this was a one fine day. It was, we went out to eat for my husband's birthday earlier this year. So it was just a nice, fun date night. So I thought, you know, I don't feel like this really needs a giant title. And I don't know, it just took me a while to decide what to use and where to put it. So I just went with that, and I think it works fine, and it matches. I'm going to just add in some more splatters here. I'm going back to the Peachy Keen, which is that orange color that I used in the beginning. And again, I like to use a little point of a napkin or a paper towel or something to kind of just barely dab it up. And then we're going to come back in with the blue and do the same thing. Sometimes I will roll my paper towel roll over it. It just depends. Like with this, there's so much on this layout, I can't really roll the paper towel over it, so I'm using a napkin instead. And then I started looking at where it says "This" on top of the blue flower and the blue leaf sprig, and I thought that I needed a little bit of separation because it's just so much light blue all layered together. So I tore a little bit more of that orange paper just for a small little layer, for a little pop of orange. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this blue leaf sprig that I did to the orange flower. Just smudge some white gesso in a couple spots to give it a little bit more of a weathered effect. And then here's what we've got so far. I think it's pretty dimensional. It's pretty textured. A lot of layering going on. The foam stickers and the chipboard instantly pop things up off the page because, you know, they're thick. And so that works. And then the last thing I'm going to do is go ahead and add my journaling in. I'm going to use my little ruler there to draw some lines, and then I'm going to use my black fine tip Sharpie because I feel like it would stand out a little bit more down there on the pattern paper. And that's it. That's the final layout. I love how this turned out. Even though it's minimal mixed media, I still feel like it has the mixed media effect. I love the color scheme here. It has a nice fall vibe going. But yeah, I hope this inspires you in some way. It was fun to make. It was fun to just kind of use all different kinds of embellishments. If you have not checked out the Bungalow Lane collection, you totally should because it's beautiful. There's all kinds of things. You could pretty much make any type of layout with it, you know. There's a lot of fall things, but there's also a lot of more generic things that you could make anything with. So let me know if you have any questions. I'll link the Bungalow Lane collection below, as well as the Shimmers store if you are interested in getting some of the Shimmers products. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I will thank you. I will see you in my next video, and I do thank you for sticking around and watching this video. So take care, and I will see you next time.